So, hello everyone. This is Otilia Tiuton from Contra Costa Health Plan, and this is our fourth session of managing anxiety naturally. So I'm so glad that you all keep coming back, and thank you for the nice emails of people that have emailed me. And it's so nice to interact with you again. So I wanted to get started with some questions that were posed last week. Angie emailed me and we missed some of her questions. So I wanted to go over those today. And they were some really good questions. So thank you, Angie, for those. So one of the question was, wondering if you get the same benefits from water when you take a shower, like you had mentioned you get when you take a bath. So this is referring to grounding or earthing, how we talked about the benefits of coming in contact with the water and with the ground, the grass, things like that. So yes, when you take a shower, you also get the negative electrons. So the water from the shower or the water from the bath would have negative electrons, just like the earth would have and the grass. So when people are walking barefoot outside, the idea is that you want to come in contact with the skin. So your skin, if your skin comes in contact with the water or with the grass or with the ground, you will get the benefits of the negative electrons. Now, they also have their companies that make earthing shoes, and they put like copper through the sole of the shoe. So the copper is a conductor of the negative electrons. So that's something people can consider, you know, like in colder times when they can't walk barefoot, there are companies that make tennis shoes and sandals and different things that are a conductor. Or if you wear leather shoes that have leather on the bottom, leather is a conductor of the negative electrons, so that will work also. Let's see, another question. I've been wondering if you receive the same benefits from walking barefoot in nature as you would if you were lying on the ground. So again, this is when the most negative electrons you will receive is when your skin touches the ground, as I mentioned. Because I do yoga outside a lot, but I do use a plastic mat, so I'm not sure if that blocks the good stuff. Yeah, the plastic will block the good stuff. You can look at yoga mats that have grounding in them. So there are companies where you can buy. Actually, that's one of my hacks today, because we're going to talk about anxiety hacks. So we'll give this one early since Angie asked the question. So you can look into buying a yoga mat that is grounded, that has grounding technology in it, and then you'll receive the negative ions from or negative electrons. They call them ions or electrons from the earth. And then, yeah. And then you also asked about the shoes. Yes, the shoes will block it unless they're leather, unless the shoe has a leather bottom, or if you buy earthing shoes or grounding shoes. I also mentioned that, so another thing that Angie shared is that when she downloaded the Tapping Solutions app, so last session we learned EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's tapping the meridian points that release anxiety and stress. So Angie downloaded the Tapping Solution app that we talked about, and then when she downloaded that, she also saw another app called I Am, and she says that this app sends daily affirmations, which has been really nice. So it sounds like Angie has been using this app, and if you want to share any more information, either in a chat or on the video, feel free, Angie. So thank you, Angie, for those questions, and thank you for sharing. Everybody that likes, I know I love positive affirmations, and I like to write my own and then read them in the morning. But you know, I might try this because it's kind of fun to see. It's kind of fun to get one that reminds me, because sometimes I forget to go to my little list and read my affirmations. So that's a great idea. I'm going to try that app. So anybody else that wants to try the I Am app with the daily affirmations, give it a try. So let's, I'm going to share screen and we're going to go to the presentation for today. Let's see, I think I'm going to do this. Oops, I'm going to pull this one. Okay. And let me go ahead and make that bigger for you so you can see. So I also want to thank people who sent me emails about their challenges, their triggers, and their barriers to feeling better. So I will go over those. So the first thing I wanted to share is the hacks today. So anxiety hacks. So I don't know if you guys have heard this term hacks, but it's kind of like shortcuts. There's like hacks on how to bake a cake, or hacks on how to get more energy, or you know, they're just different people that write or are active in kind of the wellness field. They talk about hacks. They're hacks on the computer. You know, there's like a hacker that finds some shortcut. So we can have hacks in anxiety too. So I thought, okay, I'm going to share with you some of the best ones that I found that worked for me. And I've talked about maybe some of them in the first or second session, but now we're going to get a little bit deeper. And then Arnie, if you can mute, people, there we go, thank you. And then if any comments pop up, Arnie, if you could help me with those, because when I have the screen share, it's harder for me to see the comments.
Sure thing.
Thank you. So switching to a gluten-free diet. So many people don't realize that especially when we eat like white bread or white pasta, in our body, it turns into sugar. It's kind of like having a tablespoon of sugar or more, depending on how big the slice is. Or like if you're having a sandwich, you know, especially with like white flour, it turns into sugar. And we talked about how some of the root causes of anxiety are inflammation, especially inflammation in the digestive system. So, and many people, I've read studies, and I've done a lot of reading and studying on anxiety, because I told you that I've recovered from anxiety myself. And again and again, these studies and articles would come up that people are either allergic or sensitive. So some people will say, well, I was tested, you know, for celiac disease, and I'm not allergic to gluten. Well, you might not be allergic, but you might be sensitive, and you could still have a reaction to it, or it's an accumulation of inflammation, you know. So this is something I did a few years ago. I decided to go gluten-free. Now, I did find one type of bread that I can have that is sprouted, which I shared with you guys, I believe in the first session. And the brand that I use is called Ezekiel bread. They have it like at Trader Joe's, they have it at Raley's, they have it at different stores like Sprouts, Whole Foods. And this sprouted bread, Ezekiel, they take the grain of the wheat and they leave it overnight, they sprout it. So then my body can digest the protein in the gluten. A lot of people are sensitive to the protein in the gluten and they cannot digest it very well. So then that causes inflammation in the intestines, which in turn increases the anxiety. So going gluten-free is something that I would try. Now, if you are going to do it, don't expect to see results right away. Give it at least 3 months. Some people will see results faster, you know, but I would say after a month, you should notice a difference, but give it a full 3 months. And then if you introduce it back in, you're going to see the difference. So now if I have gluten, except the sprouted Ezekiel one, I will get a rash because my body just loves not having it. That it's like a rash. It's kind of like our body talking to us, right? I'm not liking this. This is causing a problem. So that's what I've tried, you know, for with the gluten. Now, something that is really important to know that in the United States, when the wheat is being harvested, it is sprayed with a chemical called glyphosate, and this is a weed killer. And they use this chemical because it's easier to harvest the wheat. There's a chat comment. Arnie, do you want to bring that up? Okay, I can see it. Oh, it's just thank you. Okay, perfect. So it could be possible that that's one of the reasons why people are reacting so much to the gluten. And it's not just the wheat. I believe it's also other grains, most grains that are grown in the United States. Like if you eat oatmeal, unless you buy organic. Now, if you buy organic gluten, I mean, organic wheat or other grains, they're not sprayed with this chemical, but because so many of the farmers use it, it could also be in the water supply. So I definitely think that organic is a better option. And you could try that first to see if you switch to organic, if it makes a difference. But I just kind of avoid all gluten. And gluten is wheat, barley, spelt. There's one more. Wheat, spelt, barley, and I'm forgetting. I think it's something with, it's another grain. So, and sometimes gluten is hidden in like salad dressings, or they put it in different sauces. So when they cook rice at the restaurants, they will add some flour to it to thicken it. So it's good to know that it's kind of hidden. The other thing I know about the wheat in the United States is that it's been changed from the original. So because I grew up in Europe, when I go visit Europe, especially the countries where they don't use genetically modified foods, I don't have a rash. Now, if I eat too much, I will definitely feel inflammation in my joints, and you know, my joints will hurt. But I don't get the reaction I get from the gluten here, where it's a rash right away. Let's see. Rye. Yeah, that's the other one, rye. Thank you. So that's something to consider. And it's really not that bad. You know, I found so many alternatives. Like I found a really delicious company called Simple Mills that makes like gluten-free crackers that are made with almond flour, and they're so delicious. And you can find them at Costco, you can find them at Safeway, at Sprouts, Whole Foods. So many of the stores have them. It's called Simple Mills, and they make a lot of different things, even dough, like if you want to make pizza dough or pancakes or things like that. But so I found a lot of different options, and it's really made a big difference for me. Like if I once in a while have gluten, I will have to suffer for a month because the rash is just terrible. So now I just avoid it. Decrease, so the second hack, decreasing inflammation by reducing vegetable oils. Some of the very inflammatory vegetable oils are soy, corn, canola, sunflower, and safflower. So something that I've learned is to avoid using a lot of oil when I'm cooking and to cook with vegetable broth or a small amount of avocado oil. So when we are cooking, what happens is the oil gets heated up and it destabilizes the structure of the oil and it creates inflammation. So even healthy oils like olive oil, it's great if you put it on a salad, but if you cook it, it destabilizes the molecules and it makes it very, very inflammatory. So avoiding using a lot of oils, especially frying. You know, frying creates so much inflammation in the intestines. And remember, anxiety is connected to the gut, to the intestines and the digestive system. So you have to make these connections. I'm giving you all these different examples so you can kind of see how it's all tied together. So what I do is I always have vegetable broth in the fridge and bone broth, and then I will put my vegetables in a skillet. I'll put a little bit of vegetable broth. I put my seasonings. I add lots of garlic and seasonings that I like. I cover it and it cooks very, very fast. I do the same thing with the fish. If I bake it or if I cook it in a skillet, I add a little bit of vegetable broth. And then baking is always a lot healthier than frying because frying is it's not just inflammatory, but it has a lot of carcinogens, a lot of chemicals that get produced. So that's another hack. Huge difference. Sometimes if I will go eat out, like if I'm on vacation, I'm eating out more, and I'm eating foods that have more oils and more, you know, ingredients that I don't normally eat, I will notice that I'm holding, you know, more fluid. Of course, we get more salt from eating out, and I will get joint pain or just feeling uncomfortable. The third hack, decreasing sugar. Now, I wanted to say to this one, I wanted to say cut out sugar, but I know that's not realistic. So I'm saying decreasing. So we have a comment here. There are a lot of gluten-free junk foods that contain the bad oils mentioned. So use caution. Yes, I agree. Even some of the gluten-free breads, they have a lot of other chemicals. So that's why I shared Simple Meals, because it's very pure and it's very clean ingredients. It's non-GMO. So watch out for that. Thank you for that comment. So sugar. I have found natural sugar. So the way you need to think about sugar is, or any of these foods that are very inflammatory, when you eat the food, what happens with your blood sugar? So it's called the glycemic index. What they do is people will eat a food and then they test how high the glycemic, the blood sugar goes up after the person eats the food. So that's called the glycemic index. So you can actually search. Yeah, you can actually search for a list of foods with low glycemic index. So that's what I did here with these natural sweeteners. So I found something called monk fruit. You can find it at Costco, you can find it at Safeway, you can find it lots and lots of places now. It's a fruit that has very low glycemic index. And that means that it will not raise your blood sugar when you eat it. And I've even baked with it. And the only thing I noticed that when I bake, I have to grind the sugar or buy the powder. They have the powder one too. I bought it from Sprouts, I believe. the monk fruit sugar for the baking, but you can also use like a coffee grinder to make powdered sugar yourself from it, and then will dissolve a little bit better. And then stevia, some people say stevia has a different taste. That's why I gave the option of monk fruit, because it doesn't have a weird taste. It's very similar to sugar. But stevia is a wonderful sweetener for people, and if people like just a little bit of sweet, like in their tea, 1 drop of stevia goes a long way. You can get it in the liquid or in a powder. And then xylitol is another natural sweetener that comes from birch trees. Now they also make the xylitol from corn, and I prefer not to use that. It's not as healthy as xylitol from birch tree. So if you look for that, get the one from birch tree. You can only have a little bit of xylitol because it can make you go to the bathroom a little more, especially if you're not used to it. But one thing I love about xylitol, there's studies of children that their parents sprinkled a little bit of xylitol on their fruit or on their cereal, or maybe they chewed gum with xylitol. They do make gum with xylitol, and they had less cavities and they had less strep throat and less colds. So xylitol, it's not just a sweetener, but it inhibits bacteria from growing in your mouth, which is very, very interesting. Let's see, we have here more chats, more comments. Always use caution when purchasing processed foods. Yes, reading labels carefully, that's very important. Coconut oil can be anti-inflammatory. I cook with that. Yes, coconut oil is also a good option to cook with. Just use small amounts. Our body doesn't need a lot of oils. So it's much better to receive the fat in its natural form. So that's the idea that I think that's the challenge with these oils. If you eat like sunflower seeds, if you eat the whole seed, you get a different benefit than if you just have the sunflower oil, right? Because you get the fiber and you get the protein, you get all the other. So eating foods in their natural form, that's how we were made to eat them. So, consider that. And then the 4th hack, drinking bone broth regularly. Bone broth is such a wonderful, what would I call it? I call it superfood because it's so healing. So, it's like no wonder our mothers and our grandmothers made us chicken soup when we were sick, because there's something to that. So the bone broth, what they do is they take bones and they add vegetables and they cook them for 48 hours. So sometimes I make my own, I will go and buy the bones, or I'll get a whole chicken, or maybe I'll eat a rotisserie chicken and then I'll save the bones and add an onion, some garlic, some pepper, some celery, and some carrots, and just cook it on slow, for a long time. That's the part that's a little hard to make on your own, because you have to cook it for a long time. The one that I buy from the store, I always buy organic. They even have it at Costco. You can get chicken broth, chicken bone broth, or beef bone broth. A lot less expensive at Costco. And I also get it at Trader Joe or different places. But I try to drink, at least 3-4 times a week, especially if I'm feeling like I'm not feeling my best, or if I went on vacation and didn't eat so well, then, helping to regulate the immune system. So bone broth is full of minerals, but also collagen, and collagen seals the intestines to really protect them. So what can happen with the intestines when we are eating foods that are not healthy and eating a lot of sugar and eating foods that are processed? What can happen is our intestinal lining can get permeability. So think of it like you are knitting something really, really loose, and then you're knitting something really, really tight. So when you drink bone broth, is like the knitting of the intestines, they become very, very tight. And then it doesn't allow proteins to go in the bloodstream. So it really protects our digestive system, our immune system. And it's very, very calming, and it has a good amount of protein. So what I do with the bone broth, many people say, oh, it just doesn't taste good. I buy the non-salted one, and then I add my own Himalayan pink salt or the Celtic gray salt. And then I put seasonings in it. I love to add garlic powder, and then I add different seasonings that I like. And then I warm it up and I drink it like instead of coffee. So on my way to the office, I'll be driving with my bone broth instead of my coffee. And that can really make a big difference. Someone said, Angie said, I had no idea about the health benefits of bone broth. So interesting. Yes. And also I encourage you to do more research, like the healing benefits of bone broth. It's so, so beneficial for so many different things. So, but the key for me was to make it taste good, and I have to have it warm. Now you can also use bone broth when you're making soups. So instead of water, you know, I will add a whole big container of bone broth, and then I'm getting all those benefits in the soup. Or if you're cooking something, like you don't have to use vegetable broth for the vegetables, you can use bone broth, and that infuses the bone broth into your vegetables too, and then you can get more benefits. So there are lots of different ways. Some people will even buy bone broth powder, and they will add it to their smoothie. That's an option. I prefer to use the liquid just because it's more absorbent, but you know, give it a try. You're also going to notice when you drink bone broth regularly that your nails are going to be really strong, and your hair and your skin are going to be beautiful, shiny, because it has so much collagen. Many of our organs in our body has collagen and need collagen to sustain themselves. So I remember my mom, when she made us soups, she always would save like different bones, and she would throw a bone in the soup and let it cook in there. And I would think, how weird, we can't eat the bone. And then I learned that, you know, it has all these minerals and collagen. So that's another thing you can consider. The next one is trying. So we talked about the earthing and how important earthing is, connecting with the ground, being outside, getting those negative electrons from the earth. If you have a hard time, you know, walking barefoot, I mean, who has the time, right? Unless you're at the park and it's a beautiful day and you're going on the grass. I have an earthing mat in my office, and it's under my keyboard. So whenever I'm working on my computer, I'm touching with my hands the earthing mat. And then I bought grounding sheets. Either you can search for them online, called some companies call them grounding sheets, and some of them call them earthing sheets. And the way they make these sheets is they sew this very thin threads of silver lining into the cotton of the sheet, and then they have a wire that goes into the grounding of your electrical outlet, which is the middle hole. So you're not getting electricity, you're just getting the grounding that's connected to your electrical panel, because when the electrical panels are put in a house, they have to have a copper wire that goes into the earth to keep it from, you know, electrocution and different things like that. So if you have outlets, now some houses, if you have an older house and don't have that round hole, you can, some of these sheets come with a wire and kind of like a metal long rod that can be put directly into the earth. Like, you can take it out the window, you remove the window screen, the wire is very, very thin, and then you can put the window screen back on. And if you're on the lower level, like on the ground floor, you can put it straight in the ground. So that's an option if you don't have an outlet that's grounded. But most houses that were made after like the 1960s have, or the 1970s have the grounding or have been updated. And you can have an electrician update an outlet that you need to have grounding. So that is, I can tell you that what happened to me when I learned about grounding sheets, which was about 10 years ago, I used to get a back pain regularly. I exercise a lot and I have some back issues since I was young. My back pain went away. And then I also had an autoimmune condition that I was working to improve. I saw significant improvement. So there's a book called Earthing that talks a lot about the grounding studies. So if you want to look up studies on grounding, there seems to be a significant benefit for people that have autoimmune conditions, that have inflammatory conditions, things like that benefit from grounding. So the grounding sheets, depending on the size of your bed, they run anywhere between $100 and $200. You can wash them. You have to wash them at a gentle cycle and dry them in the gentle cycle, or air dry them outside. But yes, they work fine even if you wash them. And that's another option. The idea between this grounding sheets and the earthing mat that you need to touch with your skin. Now, some of the earthing sheets companies say that if you wear like thin pajamas, especially cotton, it works through those too. I prefer to always wear short pajamas just so my legs are fully on the sheet. And then I recently also bought grounding pillow cases, so that way my face is always on it too. So they also have pillowcases. Some companies make these mats that you put under your own cotton sheets. So there are different options, but I found the grounding sheets to work the best. The next one, oops, let's go back. The next hack, decreasing chemicals. So chemicals have so many negative effects on our bodies. And an accumulation of chemicals can cause a lot of inflammation. So the chemicals can be in the food. So a lot of processed foods that are in the middle aisles of the stores will have a lot of chemicals. If you look at the labels and you don't understand what it is, if it sounds like, if you can't pronounce it, we shouldn't be eating it, right? That's the rule we should use. And we should shop on the peripheral aisles of the stores, like, the proteins, the fresh vegetables, the fruits, the nuts, that's what we should focus on eating. We can also get lots of chemicals from household items and dishes. So you might be eating really good food, but maybe you're cooking in a pot that is aluminum or is Teflon, that are leaking chemicals in the food. That can cause anxiety. Overwhelming amount of people don't realize that when the body gets overwhelmed with too many chemicals, especially metals from certain household items, anxiety can go up because the body is overwhelmed. Okay, so it's like anxiety is a symptom to tell us that something needs to be fixed, that we need to figure out what's the root cause. So the dishes that are better to use are cast iron are good. Dishes that are coated with like a shiny coat, like a lot of them are white, or they might be gray, or so coated dishes. Also stainless steel, it's a pretty stable metal that doesn't leak chemicals. And then a lot of companies are making ceramic dishes. If the inside is made out of aluminum and they just have a coat of ceramic, some of the studies that I read is that after a year of cooking in the ceramic, the aluminum can leak through. So I try to stay away from those unless I know it's fully 100% ceramic, which there are some of those, but they're very expensive. So I stick to cast iron, and a lot of the cast iron are coated and they're a little bit heavier, but the food tastes wonderful and they last for a very long time. So that's kind of what I try to use. And then I have some big pots that are just coated with like this white enamel And those are really good too. Other places you can get chemicals in the body is from things that we put in our skin. Our skin is one of the largest organs, and everything we put on our skin is absorbed. So, you know, look through your bathroom or through your drawers. What soaps are you using? When I was sick years ago, I switched to everything natural and organic. The shampoo, the soap. I grew up, you know, in a country in Romania where my mom made our own soap. So my body was so overwhelmed when I came here with all the chemicals. So the shampoo, the soap, the toothpaste, the even perfumes can be very toxic, especially if you put them on the skin. Things like personal hygiene products for women, deodorant, you know, now they make deodorants that are aluminum free. They make organic personal hygiene for women. So, and then the soap you use for the dishwasher, the soap you use to wash your clothes. Now that I've used natural soap for a long time, if I go visit relatives that use like Tide or regular soap, and I use their towels, my skin gets itchy. So you will notice that when you eliminate chemicals from your body, and your body's clean, when you come in contact with them, you'll notice, because your skin will feel good all the time, and then all of a sudden it might feel irritated. So those are things to think about. Also, cleaning products in the household. I have a friend that had a house cleaning business, and she had severe anxiety, and she would tell me that her anxiety is so much worse when she's working. And then she was just thinking that she's stressed because she's working and she has to clean all these houses. Well, I asked her, you know, what products are you using? And she switched to natural products, and she saw such a big difference where she didn't get anxiety when she was spraying, you know, and using all the different chemicals. So we are so blessed in California that we have so many options to buy natural products almost in every store now. Walmart has them, Target has them. So switching to natural products can make a big difference. Also, drinking pure water. This is something that was really, really shocking to me. I was buying filtered water from a plastic bottle, and I didn't realize that the plastic itself had a lot of chemicals, right? So especially if you leave the plastic like in the sun, it will leach the chemicals into the water. So what I did is I switched to having a filter under the sink at my house, and the filter that I found some of the best research on are the reverse osmosis technology. They have them at Home Depot, they have them at Costco, they kind of have them everywhere. But these reverse osmosis filters are very, very good, but they also remove the good minerals that we need in order for the water to be absorbed properly. So if you're going to use a reverse osmosis water filter, you have to buy trace minerals. If you go to like a health food store and buy trace minerals, or on Amazon, it will tell you how many drops you need to add per gallon of water. So you have to add the minerals back in. Otherwise, your body cannot get hydrated properly. Natural springs are a great resource. I saw someone talk about, or I heard someone talk about a website where findaspring.com or something like that, or findanaturalspring.com, where you can find what the closest natural spring is to you. I know I go to different places when I go on vacation to like the mountains. I go to Mount Shasta a lot. I go to the Calistoga area where they have a lot of natural springs, and I will take a bunch of bottles and fill them up and drink the water from there because it's so fresh and healthy. And then if you're gonna use a filtered water, or even like outside of Safeway or outside of a lot of the stores, you have these big machines where you put a quarter or 50 cents to get your water filtered. I believe those are reverse osmosis, and then you just have to add the minerals. And if you can buy containers that are glass instead of plastic, that will make a big difference. So also water bottles, using glass and stainless steel bottles instead of plastic. makes a big difference. So those are my hacks. I hope that you enjoyed them. Let's see here, I go. And if you have any questions about hacks, feel free to put them in the chat. So I want to move quickly because I want to also get to the challenges and barriers. I wanted to include, as I promised, a really delicious recipe that I found online, but I modified it to make it chocolatey. So I like everything with chocolate. So if you don't like chocolate, you can leave out the cacao that I put, because it's pretty much a banana bread recipe. And I made it gluten-free, and I added dark chocolate chips, and I added cacao to make it healthy. So it uses coconut flour, hemp seeds and chia seeds, 5 eggs, a little bit of coconut oil, and you can use either monk fruit sugar or honey, and then cacao, which is different than cocoa. It's a little bit darker and it has more antioxidants. And I like to have nuts and everything. If you don't like nuts, you can leave out the nuts, but I chop the nuts, and I love to get a little extra protein. And then I put it into paper cupcakes because it cooks a lot better. And then I will just grab one and go. You know, if I make a banana bread kind of in a pan, or then I might have 2 slices, but you know, I try to just stick to one cupcake. So it's really easy to make. I will email this in my follow-up email. So if you want to try something healthy that's not going to give you anxiety, this is a great option, because we shouldn't eating healthy doesn't mean you shouldn't indulge in delicious food. You know, what I try to do is I look at a recipe and I change it up to have just pure ingredients that will not cause damage to the body. So some of the triggers and barriers that people have emailed me, I wanted to go over those. I will go ahead and read them. I think I'm going to stop sharing, and I just want to, it's easier for me to see if people write anything if I stop sharing. Okay. So the email that I sent, I just asked, you know, what are some of your challenges and triggers and barriers to feeling better, so I can provide you support, or if anybody else in the group has ideas to share, feel free to do that. So the first person that wrote me, I'm not going to use names, so this is going to just leave out the people's names. This first person that emailed me talked about how they have anxiety in social situations, where social situations trigger their anxiety, or being the center of attention. This person was interested in pursuing a career in music, but the anxiety kept them from wanting to play in front of people. Anxiety makes it difficult to play music in front of others. This person also has ulcerative colitis, and the stomach can trigger anxiety, and then that the anxiety can be a trigger for ulcerative colitis. So this is a really, really good question, because I want people to go back. The reason I chose 4 sessions and I shared all this information with you, it's all connected. So like we talked earlier about the digestive system, that one of the root causes for anxiety, it can be digestive issues, or trauma, or things like that. Since this person has ulcerative colitis, what is anything that ends with itis? Anything that ends with itis is inflammation, right? So colitis is inflammation in the gut. So which one started first? Did colitis start first, or did anxiety start first? You know, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg question. Well, they're all connected. So not just focusing on helping the anxiety with some of the tools that we talked about, but looking at how can we create more balance in the digestive system to help the body heal from the colitis, right? So what I would encourage you to do is look at all these things we talked about. Look at the diet, look at how much sugar, try to count the grams of sugar you're having in a day. I did that one time and I was shocked. There's so many things that have hidden sugars in them. So even like salad dressing has sugar. It's like, why do we need that? Just use olive oil and vinegar, you know, or a lot of processed foods. So looking at the diet, looking at toxicity, you know, what kind of toxins are you coming in contact with? Looking at also infections. Sometimes colitis, some root causes for some people can be an infection in the intestines. So, you know, working with your doctor to get tested for, you know, any kind of bacteria infection, which can cause inflammation. And then I would encourage you to research healing foods for colitis and then trigger foods for colitis. So you know what triggers it and what heals it. And then eat more of the healing foods. About the social, being in a social setting and having anxiety, I think that many people deal with that, and I feel for you because my job required that I do a lot of presentations, and now that I'm older, I'm comfortable. But when I first started, I was so afraid. So I started practicing in front of my family. I started with a small group. I started practicing in front of my friends. And then I still had a little bit of anxiety when I first did my first presentation. I had to present in front of doctors and conferences and different kind of settings. It's not like I don't get a little bit of stress, but I'm so much more comfortable because I'm practicing. So, you know, I would say, don't give up on your music, you know, play for your friends, play for a small group first, you know, get the comfort level, and then slowly you may one day feel more comfortable to be in a bigger setting. So I would really encourage you, don't give up on your dreams. The second question, or the second person, talks about how they can get out of their head, and the breathing exercises and tapping only help a little depending on how big the anxiety attack is. And then, so let me address that. When we start some of these exercises, so we've been doing this class now for 4 weeks. I shared with you the tapping, I believe, only a couple of weeks ago. So it takes some time. Also, the breathing takes time. Remember the video from Dr. Andrew Weil? He said it takes about a month to really see the full benefits of the 4-7-8 breathing. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but I encourage you to work on all the different things we learned. I encourage you to work on the sugar, reduce your toxins, be mindful of, you know, your environment, spend more time in nature, consider, you know, doing more of the earthing or the grounding. So look at all the pieces that we talked about, you know, using the positive affirmations. And when we do all of them slowly, it's not going to be overnight, but all of a sudden you're just going to find one day that you're just feeling, you just keep getting better and better. That's what happened to me. But it takes change. It takes courage to eat clean, you know, to maybe spend a little bit more on a meat, to have proteins and meats with our hormones, because hormones can really disrupt our hormone levels. You know, a lot of the meats that are not organic or grass-fed, they have added hormones that alters our hormones in our bodies. Hormones can fluctuate our mood. So all those things that I discussed in the 4 sessions, go back and review and look at where are you at, you know, on the spectrum. Also, that their triggers are thoughts and fears about the future, personal and economic. I've been seeing this so much, especially since the pandemic, because people are glued to the television. I don't know if this person watches a lot of TV, but one thing I recommend is not watching the news. I mean, I just cut the news out of my life, except I go online and I will read what I'm interested in reading, or, you know, look at updates or something, but not have constant negativity. If you skip the news for a week, you're not going to miss much. But there's so much reported that is negative that some people are very sensitive to that, and they take it on and they absorb it. So I would say I would really encourage you to put yourself in more positive situations and minimize anything negative that comes your way, and even negative people. That can make a difference too. And then being stuck for so long that I can't break out of a cycle. So, you know, that is, I feel for you, and I know that can be hard. What I encourage you to do is start doing something different than what you've been doing. So, you know, this is something that I had to do. I had a lot of negative people in my life. Some of them were family, some of them were friends. And I had to really intentionally break away from those relationships and say, I will, you know, with family, unfortunately, you know, sometimes you have to see them on the holidays, but I made an effort. If a person brought a lot of negative influence in my life, I just spend less time with them. I just made the decision. I'm going to make more friends that are positive. I actually went out seeking different friendships that were more positive, that were not these negative Nellies that always had something bad to say, because I did have some of those friends in my circle. So I would encourage you to also think about that. Who are the people in the circle? We have an electromagnetic field around our body, and Stanford University does a lot of research on this, and they say that it's up to 20 feet around our body. So when we interact with other people, our energy fields interact. So, and our emotions and our thoughts and our feelings have frequency. So if we're around negative people, they will project that energy because our fields are interacting. So think about that. Look up the human biofield and you will see this beautiful kind of circle all around the body. And you can read about how that can influence us. Another one, the last one that came in, is dealing with challenging family members and personalities and behaviors that are intense, reactive, angry, demanding, and difficult. And I would say the same thing. It's so important to create boundaries. You know, I had to sit down with certain people, or if I didn't feel comfortable face to face, I sent them, a letter, or I wrote an email that there's something they did, their behavior really hurt me. It's important to speak up. It's important to set boundaries, and and that person knows if you're going to keep continuing to be rude when we get together, if you're going to be having outbursts and things like that, I'm not going to want to be around you. This is when you behave like this, it makes me feel like this. So it's really important for us to speak up, and if that person continues to do that, just don't invite them to the next function, or I choose not to go to that function if someone that is very disrespectful to me or is bringing me a lot of stress is there. There's a comment. I deactivated my Facebook account 2 years ago and never looked back. Wonderful. See, there are many studies about the effects of social media and our mental health. That is so true. And we compare ourselves, and then we get depressed that we don't have what the other person has. So those are great comments. So thank you. So we're going to be wrapping up. I hope that some of these suggestions are helpful to you. if some of you have other things, if you didn't get a chance to email me your situation or your triggers, you know, feel free to email me and I'll respond to you independently. Boundaries, letters, conversations. Yes, I've done all those things many times, but I have these issues with both of my parents and still want a relationship with them. So it's difficult to balance. Thank you. Oh, I feel for you. I agree, especially when your parents are it is difficult. You know, another thing that I tried that really has helped me, you know, I also use prayer. So, you know, I also use positive projection. So I will set the intention before I go to get together with somebody. I will set the intention and I will say, my interaction with this person will be positive today. Or I'm really specific, like my mom will be calmer or she'll be less negative. And when I remember to do that, it really works. So give it a try, you know, say a prayer, whatever your beliefs are. Use the spiritual support that we have to work on our behalf, right? So I wanted to just share the screen for a couple more minutes because I have just a ending slide here. So let's see. See. Screen. Okay. So there was another tab. Let's see. How long will you be recording be available? They're going to be available. Actually, we're going to create on YouTube. We're going to create on YouTube a link and on our website. So I'm going to give you our website and we're going to post them all there. It should be available ongoing. So just to wrap up, I encourage everybody to keep learning and keep researching. You know, I shared with you that I healed from very difficult health conditions, and a lot of it was by reading books, by seeking out people, by taking courses that were about healing. I stopped focusing on the disease and I just searched on how to heal that condition, and I learned so much and I made a lot of progress. We're going to do I'm going to do the raffle. There are going to be 4 winners of $40 gift cards at Target. So I will do that today and I will try to send the emails out by the end of the day. I will also email you out an evaluation form, which is going to ask you questions about to give us your feedback, how you like the class, and then about the learning, and then going forward, if you want us to contact you for future things. So please fill that out and give us your feedback, because this is the first class we did like this with this format on Zoom and putting them on YouTube. So we're really excited to offer more, but we just love to know if you like it and what your thoughts are on it. And then also, if you go to our website, you can either go to ContraCostaHealthPlan.org or you can go to cchealth.org and you go under the health plan and then you go under health education. We have a health education page with a lot of information and videos, and that's where I'm going to create a tab for anxiety, and I'm going to put all the materials from this class and the videos. So remember to use that. And then, and then also behavioral access line. We have the behavioral access line phone number is 877-678-7277. So if you need counseling, if you need resources to see a therapist, this class is not intended to replace your therapist, just to give you more tools and more resources. But if you need an appointment to see someone to help you through your anxiety or other stressors, go ahead and use that number. So now I'm going to go to the questions. I see that we have more questions here or comments. Those videos will be ongoing on YouTube. Yes. Thank you, Arnie. This has been so amazing. Thank you so much. I wish it was longer. I am considering maybe doing a monthly support group if we have enough interest. So please do fill out that evaluation form. And then if we get a lot of people interested, we might do a monthly. This video will be available. Yes, yes. Arnie will upload the video to YouTube, and I will get you the link. I'm glad that people are watching the videos and are finding the class helpful. This class was very helpful to me. Thank you. You're welcome, Tim. I'm so glad that you're all here, and I'm just so glad that we've been able to have these discussions and learn together and learn from each other. So I really appreciate all the sharing. Jocelyn says that she learned a lot during the session and will be applying the information in her daily routine. I'm so glad to hear that. The wait to see a therapist can be 3 or 4 months. I would say that if you find that the wait is that long, I will call back and ask for a supervisor to see what other options you have. Maybe you can switch to it. Maybe you can be given more names of other therapists. You can also search on our website for the therapist names that you can go to, and you can call them yourself. So I'm so glad that you are all here and we were able to have this time together. Again, it's been so fun, and it's been my pleasure to help you and guide you and kind of share my journey of healing. And I just want to encourage you not to give up, because little by little, you start working on the diet, you start working on your stress. The other thing, all these deals comes together. Something I wanted to mention that's really important that I forgot is one of the root causes of anxiety is trauma. And this is something that I had that I didn't know affected my health a lot. And I improved significantly, but then there was like that last 25% that was still remaining. I learned that doing yoga releases trauma from the body. And that was fascinating to me. So that's why I shared that short 17-minute yoga video with you last session, because it's so powerful to release trauma. The other thing that releases trauma is the EFT and tapping. And go back and think about the trauma that you had and do tapping on the trauma, not just on the anxiety. Okay, so think about like the root causes. People that have other conditions like the colitis, do tapping on your colitis symptoms. So go back to session 1 and look at those root causes and tap on any of them that might be yours. That if that plays a role for you, tap on it. There are a lot of studies on ACEs. ACEs are adverse childhood effects. The more adverse childhood effects people have when they're young, the more chronic conditions they have when they're older. And a lot of it has to do with the trauma. So work on the trauma. The EFT is amazing for trauma, and the yoga is amazing for trauma. Those are 2 that I know that are really simple that anyone can do. There are other things out there that your therapist might share with you, and you can do more research. But I just wanted to mention those 2. Can my name still be added? Maria? Yes, Maria, your name will be added. Okay, so I don't want to keep you guys any longer. We're 5 minutes after. Again, it's been so fun to spend time with you and learn together. Thank you so much for joining. I would really appreciate you filling out the survey, the evaluation form, and stay tuned, and you might get emails if we have enough interest for an ongoing monthly support group. You will get an email from me. You can also email me with specific questions that maybe we didn't get to, and I will do my best to answer them. And from time to time, I might share different anxiety resources with you. That's something that I'm thinking about doing because you all enjoyed this so much. I might do emails from time to time and just share different articles that I come across that I think might be beneficial to you. So thank you, everybody. And I appreciate all of you. Keep working. Don't give up on yourselves and keep learning. Bye-bye, everybody. And thank you, Arnie, for all your help.